Scott Goodyear behind him. That is a battle for position. Goodyear has not made his stop yet. Scott Pruitt looks as if he's in trouble. The tow truck is beside him. Look at Goodyear down the inside.
Look at Johansson at the same time. Look at this fight as it seesaws back and forth. It is a battle for 5th place. And here comes Cheever. He's not in this fight, but he sure like to join it. He's several laps behind the run of the race.
Great move, risky move by Scott Goodyear in the Mackenzie car around the outside of Johansson. Johansson is slowed down a bit, and Cheever takes the opportunity to also make a pass on Stefan.
Cheever runs 16th. He's a lap behind the leader lap. Now with those pit stops, 1st through 9th are all running with the leader, Paul Tracy.
So Goodyear, in fact, had made his stop. That was a battle for position. And how good they can be when you have one car on cold tires and another one who had actually enjoyed a full lap after the pit stop to get the tires a bit hotter.
Here it obviously pays off for Goodyear. Certainly what the physics suggest.
So Johansson goes in 4th, and he comes out in 6th. So that precious few seconds it took to tighten up that right front wheel has cost Stefan 2 positions.
Mario Andretti making his last stop of the season. He was in 5th when he came in. The stop is costing. He's falling steadily backwards through the field.
12 consecutive seasons he's been with this team. Never in his career has he stayed with a team that long.
And one more season to go. And Mario has announced officially now that at the conclusion of the 1994 season, he will retire from IndyCar racing.
And he did make a statement before that he would like to spend his last season with his son Michael. That's not going to be, because we know that Michael has moved to Ganassi Racing with the new Reynard.
Running in 3rd place at the time he turned on to the pit road is Nigel Mansell.
The PBG IndyCar champion comes in, and they are going to try to not only change the tires, but change the setup on this car. We'll look for a possible front wing change because the car is still pushing. There it goes. They're making the changes. Wow, a lot of turns on those front wings. He must have a big push. Nigel Mansell has the fuel, and he's got 14.8 seconds.
Back into the fight, Paul Tracy, after his final stop of the season, really has turned the wick up. He is running a good 3 seconds faster than Emerson Fittipaldi, who runs in 2nd place.
Split fire.
Position 5th, 6th, and 7th is Johansson challenging Mansell.
It's a great fight. It really is a great fight. Mansell is trying to hold off Johansson. Look at Johansson. This is the uphill run. He's trying to get down inside it, but it's almost impossible.
And it's not just 2 cars in this fight, just behind Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal.
You can hear Mansell's car hit the ground. He's on a full fuel load, still rubbing on those rubbing blocks underneath the car. Right behind him is Little Al.
You're on board now. There's that fight just ahead. Rahal just behind Little Al.
Johansson delayed with that. Oh, down the inside. Has a little look down the inside. Look at Al Jr. Tries to line up both of them. Johansson up over the top of the curve at turn 11. Now
what a great race this is. And here is Paul Tracy joining in the middle of this fight. It could possibly be costly to Tracy because no one here is going to give any quarter. Here is Al Unser Jr. Again, that slightly unconventional line into the corner around Johansson. Picks up the position. Tracy comes in behind Johansson, trying to put him a lap down. Moves to the inside. Can't get it. Rahal is there too.
That pass by Al Unser Jr. is so decisive. He absolutely forces the issue. Doesn't get on the brakes until he's alongside the car that he's trying to pass, and then he works it out on his way to the apex. Tremendous move by Al Jr.
Christian Danner being reported out of the race. Gearbox problem. Scott Pruitt is stopped on the course. Car would not restart. Gary Gerald.
We're down here in the Tony Bettenhausen pit, and I tell you, this poor guy who used to drive race cars is just agonizing over the fortunes. You heard about how they had to change a fuel pump early. They got out. They thought on this last pit stop that they didn't get the right front wheel securely fastened. They were worried they'd have to make a 3rd stop. But after a couple of laps, Stefan said on the radio that the car was working okay. But Bettenhausen had just literally been chewing his nails down here, watching him in traffic. And as they came out of that final turn and down the front straightaway, Paul, everybody in this crew was up wondering were they going to be able to complete that lap.
Well, and looking here as they all compress down, Tracy sits in the middle of that. It's working to the advantage of Fittipaldi, who is closing in. He was 9 seconds back on the 59th lap. Now he's just under 5 seconds behind.
Oh, this is a tremendous battle here. There's a long line of cars here. Mansell, Al Jr., Johansson, Rahal, all battling for position in a line. And in the sandwich is Paul Tracy. That's Rahal all over the rear wing of Tracy.
And with Rahal there, just off the edge, we should very soon be picking up Fittipaldi. Take a little look to the right. Fittipaldi is now only 2 seconds behind Paul Tracy.
Here he comes.
There he is up the hill.
Oh, this is a fight. Tracy, we said it earlier, cannot take too many risky moves. He has fallen foul of that earlier, but the battle ahead of him, they cannot afford to move aside and let the leader through because they're embroiled in their own personal fight.
Thus far, 64 laps of 84, the scheduled distance complete. A particularly safe race. No major contact here. Some spins off the course, but nothing that matters. Gary Gerald.
Interesting, the Penske team sending an emissary down here to the Bettenhausen pit, I think lobbying to see whether or not they could get Johansson out of the way to clear the path for Paul Tracy. Keep an eye on that in the racetrack, Paul.
Well, at this moment, Paul Tracy moves alongside Johansson. Maybe it was a radio communication, but Fittipaldi is now just behind Johansson and very quickly should be in contact with Tracy.
And the 393 Penskes are one behind the other here. Johansson's out of sequence. He's now a lap down. But Emerson has absolutely gobbled up Paul Tracy's lead when he got into this traffic jam.
So Fittipaldi now looking to the inside. I wonder if the request was made for both Tracy and Fittipaldi. You would assume it was.
Well, the difficulty is, how can Johansson move over? He's going to lose touch with Mansell. Cheever is not in the fight. He gets himself in trouble. Rahal passes Cheever.
Al Unser Jr. caught up behind Briard now as he moves inside Briard. And Tracy very hard on the brakes looking for room.
That's where you get in trouble. That's where Tracy could so easily get in trouble by trying to slice past Briard. He backed off and let Briard sort himself out, but Emerson is right there.
Tracy dropped a wheel off, got off the right side of the course. Emerson closed in. Now Emerson is right behind Tracy. They both try to duck under Johansson as Rahal closes in to join this fight as well. But the battle is now for the lead as Fittipaldi challenges his teammate.
Great fight here. Rahal, remember, is trying to catch Johansson. Johansson does not let Tracy through, and Emerson is right behind him. Great fight.
Boy, you wanted to see a car race. We have one here today at Laguna Seca. Round 16 of the PPG IndyCar World Series. The last race of the year. We suggested it might be a time for everybody to show off. But look at Fittipaldi and Tracy. They've got jobs for next year, and they're still showing off.
Johansson, they're trying to lap him. Tracy has to watch what goes on ahead as well as what goes on behind. There are no team orders, no championship to be decided here. It's just bragging rights on the final race of the season.
With the speed of Tracy and the absence of full course yellows, we're running at 106 miles an hour average race speed. That's 3 miles an hour faster than Michael Andretti's race record. Jan?
Well, you say there's no team orders in the Penske camp, but what there is that Roger Penske is, of course, telling Paul Tracy, take it easy, watch yourself in traffic because of the problems he's had before. That's given Emerson the chance to close right in.
Now, Johansson has lost touch with Al Unser Jr. He probably will move over soon because the heat is certainly being turned up here. Here we go.
Here comes Tracy moving down to the inside. He cycles past Johansson, so for the moment, Tracy and Fittipaldi are separate.
Tremendous season. But I'll tell you what, Emerson is going to have his work cut out for him to pass Tracy. Catching him is one thing. Actually making or expecting it to be easy, Emerson knows he will not be. Jan Beekes.
Unbelievably, we just had a report that Paul Tracy's going to have to come in the pits because his seatbelts have become undone. Paul Tracy, our leader, I've never heard of that. Darren, he'll be here any second.
Happened several years ago at Scott Pruitt in Detroit, where he kept having his seatbelts unbuttoned and had to come in to get them reattached. Talk about a man who, when he has bad luck, if he doesn't have it for himself, something else gets into the mix.
You might ask why? Why stop? But remember, he gets beaten around and thrown around that cockpit when he goes left, right, accelerates and brakes. But the most dangerous part of not having your seatbelts undone, if you have an accident, it is an incredibly dangerous situation to be in.
So you're suggesting in part it's a judgment call on his part?
In part, I would suggest it will be a judgment call.
Well, then how if they're even attached at all, would he even consider coming into the pits?
The only thing about it is he has a clutch rest down for his left foot that he can brace himself in the cockpit with. If he can get away with that, he may struggle on. But the thoughts of an incident and having no seatbelt surely must be on his mind.
And of course, it means that he can't drive at 100%. He's driving a little off of his pace now. Fittipaldi, if he doesn't know it, can surely sense it. Jan Beekes?
Well, you two hit it right on the nose, and that is that the decision will be Paul Tracy's. They say, live with it if you can, but if you can't make it, we'll hook it back up. It's in his hands right now. Remember, he drove with that broken ankle and won the race at Road America. He's a tough man in the cockpit.
Key passing area, but Fittipaldi does not make the attempt. Still, he closes in. How does it happen?
Well, very simply, there's a center buckle right on his belly button. And sometimes when the steering movements, if you cross your arms, your elbow can very easily hit that buckle that holds the seat belts together. And if it flicks it the wrong way, suddenly it opens all 6 points of that safety harness.
Well, you know, you want a quick release buckle, but is there not a better design than that? Well, I mean, it's a seldom occurrence, admittedly.
Right, and when you get to the corkscrew, or when you get in trouble, suddenly your elbows and your arms flay around a lot more than you're used to sometimes. And that can easily undo it. I've had it happen before.
14 laps to go for the 1993 PPG IndyCar World Series. If those belts are very loose, it doesn't seem that Paul Tracy is beginning to show it. He's actually been inspired by the presence of Fittipaldi just behind him and has been pulling away.
I mentioned 6-point harnesses. There are 2 around his waist, 2 around his legs, and 2 over his shoulders. But the one buckle holds everything together. When you release it, everything suddenly releases.
So for the moment, this fight for the lead is broken off. There are no other fights in the field. It remains static. Car off in the turn 2 as it slides off the edge of the course. We can't see who that is. We'll check it, and we'll report it to you when we come back.
See over the Haviland sign there that there has been heavy contact with Mark Smith. I don't know why Mansell's going so slowly. Obviously he thinks there's something else broken in the car, so he's had 2 incidents today. Here it is down the inside. Whoa, what an argument over a piece of property. I don't know whether he had any chance of making that, because Mark Smith was already turning into the corner when the contact appeared. You see both cars do spin. Gary Gerald is there.
Nigel comes in and immediately shuts off the engine, unbuttons the steering wheel. That's the indication that his day may well be over. Now, we had it word that he may have injured or hurt his wrist in that contact when the wheel turned. We don't know if that, in fact, is the case. But Nigel, the 1903 IndyCar champion, is climbing out, Derek. There will not be a season-ending victory for the Newman Haas team.
Well, he certainly is favoring his right hand, and you saw in the onboard camera how fast that wheel spun around when the wheels got into the side of Mark Smith's.
Nigel has carried that injury for quite a long time. Look at the steering wheel. Watch that. Right hand, watch the impact. Look at that. Yanks the steering wheel to the right. That's what would re-injure that already injured wrist, but I can't see how he was ever going to make it past Mark Smith on the line he was trying to get by him on.
Well, he's been using a different line of that corner where he almost makes a turn way early and takes a straight run to the apex and gathers it all up down at the bottom. But in this particular case, Mark Smith was at the bottom when he got there.
So the season is over for Mansell. What a spectacle it was to watch him, particularly on ovals, but unfortunately after 2 incidents, today is over. However, there's a big check ready for him tomorrow night at the banquet.
He has added so much to this year and makes history, winning his first IndyCar race. From the pole to the checkered flag at Australia, motors his way all the way to an IndyCar championship, and for 1 week holds both titles at the top of the world, the IndyCar champion and the Formula One champion. That hat that he wears is commemorative of that victory at Nazareth that gave him the championship.
Believe it or not, that wrist injury did not come in a racing incident. He fell down on his way into a press conference earlier this year at Cleveland, and that was where that injury occurred, and now it's been aggravated again with that incident with Mark Smith.
Gary Gerald, you have more.
We're alongside Nigel. The IndyCar medical folks are here, and they're going to tend to him. There won't be any confirmation from Nigel as to specific